We had a rebel win. Jessica Simpson, a criminal formerly known as Jonathan Yaniv, came for Rebel News with a lawsuit, and a judge just tossed it out like the garbage that it was. Drea Humphrey here with Rebel News, and last August I informed you that a trans activist and serial litigator who now goes by the name of Jessica Simpson was suing us in civil court. I also asked for those of you who appreciate that our journalism does not stop due to fear of being sued by someone who would like us to be silent, to help us cover the legal expenses to defend ourselves from Simpson's lawsuit via donations at yanivtrial.com. And I'm thankful to let you know today that your generosity has gone a long way and made this win possible. Simpson's suit accused us of harassment and being defamatory and tarnishing Simpson's and, quote, valued and unblemished reputation in British Columbia and elsewhere in Canada and throughout the world. Now, I'm laughing because that statement, much like the lawsuit, is a joke. We did not tarnish Simpson's reputation. Oh no, Simpson has mastered the ability to do that all alone. We simply inform the public of Simpson's many run-ins with the law, violent outbursts, and taxpayer-wasting litigations that Simpson brought forward, which includes 16 suits against immigrant women trying to make a living as estheticians, but were uncomfortable with and unwilling to wax Simpson's male genitalia that they were surprised with. Now, that story gained coverage from many news outlets, not just us, and the Honorable Justice Millman, who combed through Simpson's lawsuit against us, agreed, stating that Simpson's reputation was not previously unblemished and that the evidence we showed reveals that Simpson was already the target of extensive adverse publicity from other sources, making Rebel News only one of many voices conveying a similar message. Consistent with our reports on Simpson that illustrate a pattern of Simpson targeting immigrant women in civil action, Millman's reasons for judgment, which I've linked in full for you in the written article for this report at yanivtrial.com. In those reasons, he also links the findings from the Human Rights Tribunal that dealt with the wax my balls cases and showed evidence of Simpson's racial animosity found in tweets. Take a look at this excerpt here. Simpson says, "We have a lot of immigrants here who gawk and judge and aren't exactly the cleanest people. They're also verbally and physically abusive. That's one main reason why I joined a girls' gym, because I don't want issues with these people, nor do I want anything to do with them in any way, shape, or form." Adding that they lie and will do anything to support their own kind and make things miserable for everyone else. Recently, around the time Simpson was convicted of a third criminal offense, this time for threatening to kill activist Chris Elston.
Stop! I will kill you! You're gonna send another bomb threat to my phone? I'm watching you! Get away from my car! Get away from my car!
Which you can find out all about in my recent report at yanivtrial.com. An awfully racist fake account came up in my name on Twitter. It wasn't just racist, it was also perverse. Now, naturally, we reported the account to Twitter and they took it down, and then poof! Hours later, we noticed that another account had also been taken down or suspended or removed, which happened to be the Trusted Nerd, which is the Twitter account that Simpson used and surprisingly had a lot of followers on. Coincidence? You tell me. Now, speaking of explicit messages involving children, you might recall, if you follow our reports at yanivtrial.com, that Yaniv also has a pattern of going after journalists, in particular, our journalists here at Rebel News. You can see him whacking my colleague David Menzies with a pink cane because Menzies had the audacity to ask him about allegations that had been published by other news sources that suggest that Yaniv was sending explicit messages to underage children.
Jonathan, why do you send sexually explicit messages to young girls?
Hey, go away.
Go away.
My iPad.
Why don't you?
Now.
Go away.
Go away. That's assault.
This is something else that Justice Millman touches on in his judgment. Millman writes that perhaps the most damaging of Simpson's claims of a tarnished reputation by Rebel News reporters is from comments that suggest that Simpson is a pedophile and is merely pretending to be a woman for voyeuristic reasons.
I think you're beautiful, and I am so glad you told me more about you today. You're special, and I really, really, really like you a lot. It makes you unique. It makes you you, and I'll still always love you. And there's room right here for you right now. I mean, you know, ignore that. I maybe just heard that, but oh, what was that? There's room right here for you, and I wish you were here right now.
Millman adds that such allegations appear to be based on information drawn from several publicly available sources, the context of which these allegations stem from is explained to be from screenshots of sexually explicit text messaging conversations between Simpson and the girls, who at the time were between the ages of 13 and 16, in an exchange dated in May of 2018, for which the justice writes that we were able to provide to the judge for him to review all of those conversations. Now, if you feel like losing your lunch today, you can read what was written in those messages to those teens by clicking on the written report for this article below, because that's where the judge's rulings will be. But David Menzies is not the only journalist that was attacked while practicing journalism that involves Simpson. In fact, my former colleague, Kian Bexty, who's now with the Counter Signal, was viciously attacked by Simpson when he was covering a weapons charge that Simpson had gone to the Surrey Provincial Courthouse for a hearing for. Take a look.
What? Go.
No,
Go.
don't touch me. Don't touch me.
Hey! Stop! Go away from me. Go. Go away from me.
Jesus, get away from me.
Go away.
Crazy
Get
thing.
away from me. Get away. Get the away from me.
Stay away from me.
Get away from me. Now. Right now. You heard me?
I'm calling the police on you.
I don't give a Get away from me.
You stay away from me. I'm backing up.
Then go. Don't follow me.
Now, it later came out during the trial where Simpson was recently found guilty for assaulting Bexty that Simpson admittedly has a hate for Rebel News reporters. And since it wouldn't be too far of a stretch to think from some of the racist tweets I read earlier in this report that Simpson could have been motivated by hate when suing immigrant women, is it also unreasonable to think that this bogus defamation lawsuit against us at Rebel News could also be driven by hate? But in the end, Simpson is the loser. Simpson did not get the thousands of dollars Simpson tried to get by claiming to be defamed by Rebel News. Justice Millman ruled in alignment with much of the amazing defense that the great counsel we hired to defend us from Owen Bird Law Corporation presented. The ruling was a win for freedom of press and expression, but it wasn't without critique to our journalistic approach at Rebel News. Justice Millman wrote that Rebel News says that it strives to present an alternative. Many would find the views that it expresses here and elsewhere to be highly offensive. It is, however, precisely in such cases that the law's commitment to protecting freedom of expression will be most sorely tested. But I know from being one of the journalists who have informed the public about Simpson that many of you who wish to receive such reports are offended as well. You are offended that a person can brandish a restricted weapon for millions of people to see while laughing, then assault a journalist, for reporting about that unlawful act and attack another journalist who dares to question said person about strong allegations that they have been interacting with children in a sexually explicit manner and that that person appears to have targeted women of color financially because they think they are beneath them and can even threaten to kill people they disagree with on the street, and yet somehow repeatedly receive leniency in our justice system, which is illustrated by the fact that said person was granted not one, but 2 conditional discharges that in many ways granted them the ability to live life as though they hadn't committed any dangerous crimes.
You are insane. You know that? You are insane. Absolutely insane is what you are.
What is so special about a person like that? And why are more news outlets not reporting on this? Drea Humphrey for Rebel News. If you appreciate that at Rebel News, we do not back down from a story, not to appease the government, not to appease the radically woke left or the conservative right. Instead, we are accountable to you, and we make sure you're informed about the stories that the legacy media continues to ignore. If you appreciate that, please consider donating towards our further legal expenses at YanivTrial.com. That's because we are still supporting the 2 lawsuits, one for the attack you saw on my colleague David Menzies, as well as the attack that you saw on Kian Bexte. We have to let the public know that it is not okay to assault Rebel News reporters or any reporters who bring you the news you deserve to hear. Thank you so much for your support at YanivTrial.com.